Hello, good evening, good day, everybody, and welcome to the 262nd episode of the Ask Abhijit show. I hope everybody is doing fantastic. Before we begin, let us see who all is there on the live chat. I can see Varun Warrior, Darshan Patil, Manisha Cardozo, GK, Vinyas, Xenomorphosis, Hunter Kenway, Shubham S, Hitanshu, Shri Jawaharlal Nehru ji, Nitai G, Dhruv Duria, Neha Sharma, UCSS, Samarth Tripathi, Advait Mehta, Dheeraj Kamath, Jimmy, Chacha Abhijit Chavda. Well, what is that? Pratham Sharma, Freedom from Outcome from Canada. Samarth again, Nationalist, Mystic SK, Geopolitical Dubey from Indore. Anonymous Scientist, whose questions I have answered, it looks like. Dr. Ritu Patnaik, Games Rich, Devil, Omkar, ICMBs, Rahul Dunake. Who else do we have? We have plenty of people. Skanda, Janardhan, Janardhan, Yashwant Sudhir, Shivad Darshan S, Rohit K, A Singh, Kapalin, Yash Rathod, DS, Aradhya Sharma, Neelansh Harshit, Anshul, Shakirala Ravi Kumar, Pratham Sharma, Siddharth Adiga, Maklevin from Superbad, I suppose, Brijesh SK, Shashank Kaushik, Polar Bear is here, Paritosh Shrestha is there, Artistic Self, Rishikesh Das Gupta, and so many other people. I will not be able to greet you all individually, but thank you so much for being on the live chat. And let us get going with some questions. Shreyash Mitra from Moscow. Tovarish. Yes, it's good to see you, sir. Okay, let's get going with some questions. ICMB says, what's your opinion on Nietzsche's Übermensch idea? I think it's an antithesis to Abrahamic moral values and much more aligned with Dharmic ideology. Well, I haven't read it in detail, but the Übermensch idea is the idea, I believe. What's the idea? Is it an antithesis to Abrahamic moral values? And is it aligned to the Dharmic ideology? I'll have to refresh my memory about Nietzsche's Übermensch idea. So let's do a very quick Google search, okay? And then that should be enough. Nietzsche Übermensch. Okay. Let's quickly do Overman, obviously Superman, but it's a philosophical ideal represent the person who has overcome traditional values and societal constraints to create their own meaning and values. It's not literal superhuman. Overcoming nihilism, creating new values beyond good and evil, etc. Not a fixed state, not a social class, etc. It's a philosophical ideal representing a person who has overcome traditional values and so on and so forth. Okay, that's the Übermensch. So is this an antithesis to Abrahamic moral values? What are Abrahamic moral values? Abrahamic moral values are that you confirm. You don't ask questions. You don't think. You accept whatever is taught to you by your elders and whatever is written in the book, and you don't raise questions and so on. And the Übermensch is kind of different from that, isn't it? It's about a person who overcomes traditional values and societal constraints to create your own meaning and values. Well, that's totally iconoclastic, clearly. It's totally iconoclastic. It's definitely, the way I see it, an antithesis to Abrahamic values and norms. Is it aligned with the Dharmic ideology? Well, in Dharmic ideology, you do question everything. And you are completely free to have your own values and live life your own way, as long as you don't harm anybody. So yeah, it is more aligned with Dharmic ideology as compared to the Abrahamic moral values, and it is definitely, you could say, an antithesis to Abrahamic moral values. Yeah, it is. Umkar says, SM geopolitics and astrology experts predict India will take back POK in 1 or 2 years. But now, as Trump is on Pakistan's side, will this be possible if we are at war again? Okay, listen, I have not made any such prediction. Of course, I'm not an astrologer. I don't know anything about astrology. So I will not comment about that. But I have not predicted. I could perhaps be seen as somebody who understands geopolitics. Perhaps, little bit. Thoda Thora Thora. So I have not made a prediction that India will take back POK in 1 or 2 years. Trump is very much favoring Pakistan. You are absolutely correct in your observation. Trump is very much favoring Pakistan. So will it be possible if we are at war again? Well, first of all, the question is, will we be at war again? We had a 3-day war, 3.5, 4-day, whatever, 3-day war, and it was paused because of external interference, which is Trump's interference. Now Pakistan will regroup. It will possibly learn the lessons of the Operation Sindoor and possibly bolster its defenses and other capabilities and so on, and so on. So the question is, will we be at war again soon? Well, it depends. It entirely depends on Pakistan and Pakistan's behavior. If Pakistan launches another terrorist attack on India, we will be at war again. And this time we may strike harder. So the question is really, is Pakistan possibly going to launch another terror attack in the next 1 or 2 years? If it does, we will be at war. Then the question is, if we are at war, will we be able to take back POK? I'm not sure about that. See, the objective as of now is to significantly degrade Pakistan's military and terrorist capabilities. Right? The military and terrorist capabilities go hand in hand because they're the same entity. So if we can do that, and of course the nuclear blackmail has been burst now. The nuclear weapons are American weapons and the Pakistanis won't be allowed to use them. I don't think they will. And if they do, it's the end of Pakistan. So I think that it's unlikely for us to take back POK in 1 or 2 years. I don't know. I have no idea about astrology, so I'll not comment about that. But I have never said that it's likely that it will happen in the next couple of years. It may definitely happen in the next 10 to 20 years. Maybe even 5 years. But 2 years, I think it's a short time frame. Devil says, what ideology did people follow in ancient India? And also compare it with ideologies like communism, etc. One more question I have about dating in ancient India. What's the question? Ideology. India has never been an ideological civilization. What did we follow in ancient India? We followed Dharma, the various schools of thought of Dharma. Dharma, right? Whether it is Charvak philosophy or Sankhya philosophy or Mimamsa philosophy or Vedanta philosophy or Nyaya philosophy or whatever else, or Jaina philosophy or Bauddha philosophy, etc. These are all Dharmic philosophies, and these are all different schools of thought. Some are pretty different from each other, some are and there's still a lot of commonality. So that's what Indians followed in ancient India. We didn't have communism and whatever else. We had no such thing. So these are not ideologies. These are philosophical schools of thought. Each philosophical school of thought had a set of tenets, which essentially were models of the universe, essentially. Right? What was the universe like? And what are the laws that govern the universe and that sort of thing? So that's what our ancestors followed. There was no ideology as such. Dating in ancient India, I have no idea. We have lost our texts, so I have no idea. Dating. Games Rich says, is it just too much information flow, or is the world actually getting more unstable? Also, do you say thanks to ChatGPT at the end of the conversation? Well, if you're having conversations with ChatGPT, maybe you should thank ChatGPT for taking the time to have a conversation with you. I don't know. It depends on the nature of the conversation you're having with ChatGPT. I have seen photos of people standing in subways with their phone and this ChatGPT on there, and they are talking to ChatGPT like it's a girlfriend of theirs. You know, that sort of conversation. So it depends on what sort of conversations people have with ChatGPT, right? I mean, ChatGPT seems to be a pretty powerful tool, but people are using it for all these silly purposes, like creating memes. I mean, it's fun to create memes and all, but most people will use technology for these little things. Now, is it too much information flow? Is the world getting more unstable? Both things are happening. Both things are happening. There is more and more information out there on the internet, no question about that, and most of it is now becoming noise. It's just noise, and very little actual signal, high quality signal. So there's a tremendous amount of information. Most of it is just generic noise, people just mumbling and blabbering. So there is that. But is the world also getting more unstable? It is getting more unstable geopolitically. So it's a combination of all these factors, my dear friend. Dr. Ritvik Patnaik says 29 million subscribers YouTuber said that Jaishankar is a failed diplomat. We have no allies, not even Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka support China. Can you give real clarity? I don't know who this whatever YouTuber is. We have no allies. That is correct. Of course, we have no allies. We don't have any formal alliance agreement with any nation. We don't have something like what NATO has, which is a formal agreement. So we have no allies, no official allies. We have partners. We are multi-aligned. We have lots of alignments with various nations based on various shared interests, but we have no allies. Okay. Does Bhutan support China? I disagree. Bhutan doesn't support China. Does Sri Lanka support China? Not quite. During the Rajapaksa era, Sri Lanka was under the Chinese sphere of influence. Today, it is more aligned towards the US and to some extent India. Not that much China. So I would disagree with that. I disagree about Sri Lanka. I disagree about Bhutan. When it comes to Nepal, the politicians are all left aligned, which means that many of the politicians are aligned with China. That's no question. There's no question about that. But culturally, Nepal is Indian. We are the same people as the Nepalese. They are the same as us, culturally, genetically, etc. And there is a significant push. There's a significant desire one sees from time to time in the Nepalese population to see a restoration of the monarchy. If that happens, then Nepal will not be pro-China. But right now, Nepal is kind of pro-China, kind of to some extent, right? So I think that answers that. So I've answered the question about the allies, about Nepal, about Bhutan, about Sri Lanka. Is Jaishankar a failed diplomat? I mean, why is he a failed diplomat? What has he done to deserve the tag of being a failed diplomat? I don't understand that. He's a reasonably pretty good diplomat. He's taking care of our interests. How has he failed? I fail to understand that. So I don't care if this person has 29 million YouTube subscribers or whatever. I strongly disagree with that nonsensical claim, whoever the person is. Okay, Ravi says top peer-reviewed Indian geneticist Narasimhan. Are you talking about Vagish? You're talking about Vagish Narasimhan. 1 second. Is it Vagish? Vagish. You're talking about Vagish Narasimhan. Top peer-reviewed Indian geneticist who works with the David Reich lab. He has confirmed ho gaya. Confirmed that R1a is not Indian. It's not native to India. It came from Mars. It came from Venus. It came via immigration. Oldest R1a samples are this many years old, found in Russia, blah, blah, etc., etc., etc. Not India. Clearly indicating external origin. Oh my God, this is the end of the world for us. This is a work in progress, okay? And he may be a top peer-reviewed guy, but okay, now he has his own lab apparently, and so on. This is a work in progress. Look, please understand one thing, my friends. Let me explain this very clearly. This is obviously all related to the Aryan invasion / migration / tourism / picnic theory, right? The migration theory became the invasion theory became a migration theory. Now it's going to be a tourism theory and eventually picnic theory. But understand this, my friends. This claim of this Aryan invasion, migration, whatever, it's not going to be settled through genetics. Why do I say this? Please understand. Why do I make the statement? It will not be settled through genetic data. Because the Aryan invasion / migration theory has two central claims. First claim is that Hinduism is foreign to India. Second claim, Sanskrit is foreign to India. Now, from your DNA, can you determine what was the religion of the person and what was the language of the person? You can't. So what's this pointless nonsense about R1a and genetics and all? And the R1a question is still an open question. There is research happening in India. Okay, let the Indian research come out. There is research happening at the Birbal Sahni lab with a significant set of Indian samples, Let the research come out. We'll see about that. So first of all, the genetic question is a totally separate question. But the real central claims of the Aryan invasion theory are the question about religion and language. Hinduism and Sanskrit. And they're claiming that Hinduism and Sanskrit are foreign to India. These are the central claims. It has nothing to do with genetics. And let them prove this. Are any of them in a position to prove that Hinduism is foreign to India? It originated outside India, and Sanskrit originated outside of India. I will wait for that to be proven. It will never be proven, and that's the whole deal. Anonymous scientist says the UK Navy's a stealth lol F-35B fighter jet is still in India. What are my thoughts? I am beginning to think it's a Trojan horse. I mean, they said that the thing was running out of fuel. That's why it had to make an emergency landing in India. Fine. But why is it here for 5 days? Take it back. Take your flying trash can back. Why haven't you taken it back this far? I am beginning to think that it's a Trojan horse. It's a spying operation of some kind. I don't know what the deal is. I have no idea why it's still there. If they are not willing to take it back, we should impound it. You know, the Indian government and custom officials, they love to impound things. They put their stamp and their seal and all that. Take it. Lay low. Impound it. Shivam says, let's be honest. India will never catch up to China. Well, then, Shivam Bakshi, please go to China. Why are you here? Why are you so pessimistic? I see lots of Indians like this. I don't understand why. Let's be honest. You be honest. It's your perspective, it's your worldview that India will never catch up with China. I strongly disagree. I have the utmost faith in Indian civilization. You know, most people are average, right? We know that, right? That's why the word average exists. Most people are average. Another word for average is mediocre. So the world is average, the world is mediocre. So the same applies to India. But India has more exceptional people than anywhere else in the world. The system is horrible, no question about it. But we're going to prevail. So I just don't agree with this defeatist mindset that you have, sir. That India will never catch up with China. Oh, we are doomed. We will never be good, etc. That's not for me. Please don't. It's that mindset is not for this channel. Please don't bring it here, sir. Okay? Let's be positive. Let's be optimistic. What's the point of this? I don't get it. Anonymous scientists. Oh, well, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Ganapati says, hey, Abhijit, previously you mentioned there were only 6 sovereign states. Well, I used to say 4. Now it's 5. But you are saying 6. Somebody will now say 7. 7 colors of the rainbow. So Iran wasn't in that list. Their actions don't seem subservient. It serves their national interest. Who is their master? I have historically said there are 4 sovereign states. Of late, I have revised that estimation, and I now say there are 5 sovereign states. I have never said there are 6, but maybe you must have heard something. And okay, so that's fine. So which are the sovereign states? The US, Russia, China, India, and Israel. So according to me, there are 5 sovereign states, not 6. Okay. Now you are asking about Iran, and it's a good question. Why do I say that Iran is not fully sovereign? Right? Because they are critically dependent on 2 nations, Russia and China. Critically dependent. And if these nations essentially don't come and stand with Iran, then Iran could end up losing its independence. Forget about sovereignty. It'll end up losing its territorial integrity. And Iran is deeply dependent on these 2 nations, and it's cut off from the rest of the world because of American sanctions, which has caused the situation and put Iran in a situation where it is without these 2 nations, it essentially can't survive without Russia and China. So it means that it's critically dependent on them, which means it is not fully sovereign. Right? Their actions, they are obviously in defiance of the US because they have no other choice. But without the support of Russia and China, Iran is doomed. Please understand that. Advait Mehta is asking 2 questions. How was Hitler's economy? It was great. Hitler actually transformed the German economy. Okay, it's a very interesting chapter of history. He did transform the German economy. He brought Germany up from its knees. How was France after Napoleon? Not so good. Not so good. The Napoleonic Wars kind of ruined France, and it caused a lot of changes across the world, in Europe and also in South America and where not. Very interesting. So um, lots of second order, third order effects, and so on. Rahul, well, thank you so much, sir. Very kind of you. Um, Vedic Post says, why are 90% English speaking whites racist to Indians? Well, I'm not sure everyone's racist. I'm not sure about the 90% figure, but you do have racism against Indians. Why is there racism against India? Because India is daring to rise again. You see? India is a nation of brown people who apparently are inferior to white people according to the white supremacist mindset. I'm sure not all whites think that way. Okay, there are nice people as well in the world. Please understand, there are many nice people in the world. There are many non-racist people in the world. But historically, the West has been super racist, and they have at some point in time in history, they began to imagine that white skin makes them superior. And we are a nation of brown people. Look at this brown skin. So some of them believe that, the fact that they have white skin makes them superior. And also, we are a nation of brown people who were subjugated by the whites for 2.5 centuries. We were completely destroyed. Our economy was devastated. Everything of value was sucked out of India. And look at us today. We are rising up on our feet again. We are the fourth largest economy. We have the temerity to have nuclear weapons. We have the temerity to not participate in American sanctions against Russia, another Eastern nation. So we are supposed to be coolies, but we are standing up and we are saying we are independent. How dare we? How dare we? So that's why there is this upsurge of racism against us. It's a good thing. It tells us if these racists are all upset. Once again, I'm saying not all white people are racist. Okay, there are many nice people as well. But if those racist white people are upset, we must be doing something good. So why are we upset about it? We should be celebrating. Yeah, it's going well. We're doing really well. Anand Rai Fimate says, Battle of Agincourt, 100 years war between France and UK. The Battle of Agincourt was a supreme victory, I think. With Battle of who was it? Henry VIII, was it? The English archers who were plucking the yew, the English long bow made of yew wood, and they would pluck the yew wood and unleash the arrows. When was the Battle of Agincourt? I don't remember. Let's quickly do a quick Google search. I think I'm still old-fashioned. I don't do ChatGPT searches. I still do Google searches, right? Okay. Battle of Agincourt. Yes. So who were the 100 Years Wars? Who were the belligerents? Henry V, not Henry VIII. Oh, I see. So they defeated the French. And as you can see, you have English archers with the English long bow. There you have it, the long bow. So yes, I do remember some of this. Yes. And yeah, it was a significant victory by the English over the accursed French. Yes, the two nations were enemies for 1,000 years. They hated each other. The French called the English les rosbifs, and the English called the French the frogs, les frogs. I don't know why, but whatever. Yeah, so it was this period of 100 years of hostility between the two nations. Indeed. Yes, and then that hostility lasted a long time, and I don't think it's entirely gone away even now. Yeah. Okay, John says, I'm 27 years old. I want to study BSc Physics. Do you think it's too late? In India, normally taking a bachelor's this late is looked down upon. Well, how do you care what people think? If you want to do it, you do it. As long as it provides some value to you and enhances your life in some way. It's up to you. I mean, there are people who do their PhD at 70 years of age because they wanted to have a PhD. I had this dream of having a PhD. So now that I'm 70, I'll do a PhD. There's no such thing as right or wrong. If it's something you want to do, then tell yourself that the world can go take a hike. I'll do what I like. I don't think it's too late. I don't think so. Okay? But as long as it's useful to you, or it's something that you really want to do, it should not come in the way of your career or whatever. As long as it doesn't hurt you or harm you in some way, who the hell cares what the world thinks? Do what you like. Yeah? Go for it. All the best. Go for it. UC says, what are some more delusions Indians believe in? Oh, I had made a video about delusions, didn't I? Delusions. What delusions do Indians believe in? I'll have to think about it, because I think I listed all the major delusions off the top of my head or in the video. And yeah, Vishwaguru and superpower and all that stuff. What other delusions? I'll have to think about it. If I tell you now, I think I'll repeat all the points that I had raised the other day. But yeah, maybe I can think about it properly and make a written down list, and maybe then I can answer the question. So at this point in time, yeah, I don't know more delusions. Vishwaguru for sure, superpower for sure. India system is the best. Come on, are you kidding me? India's education system is garbage, and I suppose there could be many more delusions. So yeah. Rohan says, will Armenia's defense supply halt if Iran fails? If Iran falls. If Iran falls, Armenia also falls. Yeah. If Iran falls, Armenia also falls. Turkey will go for the jugular. Turkey won't do it directly. They will have their minions, Azerbaijan, do it. So yeah, Armenia's future kind of depends on Israel, on Iran not falling. And do you see? Israel is supporting Azerbaijan against Armenia, while India is supporting Armenia against Azerbaijan. Very strange situation. Zishan says, if you consider yourself an Indian patriot, why speak English, the language of our colonizers? Not only do you speak in English, but you can barely speak Hindi. I know I should be ashamed of myself. And I've said this multiple times, that this is a strong indication of the fact that I'm mentally colonized. Right? One of the reasons I speak English is that I want the world to understand our perspective. That's one reason. The other reason is that I am not very good at Hindi. I can speak Hindi, but I'm not that fluent. The words and concepts and all of that doesn't come naturally to me, because I've never studied Hindi properly, because I spent a lot of my formative years outside of the country. Right? So I suppose it may be possible to be an Indian patriot while being mentally colonized to a certain extent. But I will very much encourage everybody to prioritize your mother tongue and your national languages. And I think that we should revert to Sanskrit. And if we do, then I promise you I will stop speaking English, and I'll go back to speaking Sanskrit only, and I'll learn it properly. But the other reason is that I don't consider Hindi to be the national language. Hindi doesn't deserve the status of a civilizational language for India, or even a national language. The only language that is worthy of being the national or civilizational language is Sanskrit, not Hindi. I am not a fan of Hindi. And another reason is that the Hindi I have learned is the Hindi you essentially speak on the streets of Mumbai. So I'm not sure how civilized that Hindi is. So multiple reasons. And Hindi, the other reason is that Hindi has so many foreign loan words. I don't want to end up speaking foreign loan words. So because of all these reasons, I prefer to speak English. Yeah, I know these are all excuses, of course. So ideally, I should be speaking Sanskrit. But then if I do that, nobody will understand me, and so on. So because of all these reasons, I speak English. But I take your point. I know you're not trying to be disrespectful. You're making a good point here. And I have said this. I do suffer from mental colonization because of the way I grew up and I was raised. I was exposed to English. I was not exposed to other languages. And I was exposed to other foreign languages beyond English, and so on. Yeah. Spade says, we are Rossia's Tsar. Well, we are Rossia's Tsar. Well, if you say so. I'm not sure what you're saying, but okay. Thank you. Vamshi Kalem says, Bahlik, kingdom of Bhishma's uncle, is separate from Gandhar. Well, Bahlik and Gandhar are essentially separate. You're right. But if you look at Gandhar from the perspective of today's Afghanistan, then Bahlik comes within that. But historical Gandhar was not the entirety of today's Afghanistan. It had some of today's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, it had the Chitral region, and so on, and various parts of Afghanistan. But Mahalik was separate. So you make a good point, no question. But if you want to superimpose the word Gandhar on today's Afghanistan, then Balkh comes within that, doesn't it? So yeah, if you want to be very, very super precise and right, then what you are saying is indeed correct, sir. Geopolitical Dubai, sir, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Feminist Khan Slayer Sharifuddin. Our documentary is good for world history overview. Well, I'll tell you what. Documentaries are great. You can learn a lot from a documentary, a good documentary, but not from a short documentary. Let's say you want to understand the Second World War, for example, and you will watch a 60-minute documentary to understand the Second World War. You won't get much knowledge or context or information from a 60-minute documentary about the Second World War. But there are some documentary series that are like 20, 30, 40 episodes, each 1 hour long. I suppose there are. If you watch that, if you invest that much time in doing that, then you may actually learn a lot about world history without having to read about it. So it depends. Even documentaries, you have to watch them seriously, and a short documentary won't teach you much. Okay? Adi Jain says, Namaste, first of all. If Iran becomes a US vassal, could this be part of a US-India collusion? America takes Iran, and India handles Pakistan. You think America will allow India to handle Pakistan, take over Pakistan? It will never happen. Never going to happen. Would be nice if it was the case, but it's not the case. So if you watch the Indian interest episode that I just did before this live stream, if you watch that, you will understand why it will never happen. Trump himself is personally deeply invested in Pakistan. Why would he hand Pakistan over to India? Why would he have India handle Pakistan? He wants to personally handle Pakistan and exploit the resources, extract the resources, oil, gas, rare earths, and also crypto and so on and so forth. Why would he hand over Pakistan to India? Not going to happen. And Iran becoming a US vassal itself is a terrible, terrible thing to happen. So, yeah. Strike says, your views on Israel today, genocidal or defendant? Look, honestly, it's somewhere in between. Of course, there's no question about the fact that it has suffered terrorist attacks. Tremendous, terrific, horrible, inhuman terrorist attacks. No question about it. It's a nation that's surrounded essentially by enemies. Historically, it's been that way. I mean, if you see the 48 war, the 67 war, and so on and so forth, yeah, it's been surrounded by enemies. And as such, it's perhaps the Israeli psyche has developed a siege mentality. If you look at the Israeli population, it's not a nation of civilians, honestly speaking. The moment you're 18, you have to undergo compulsory military training unless you have some issues. So most people undergo 3 years of military training. They all know how to handle weapons and grenades and whatnot. They all know how to fight. It's not a nation of civilians. So the whole nation, because of the surroundings, has evolved in that manner. Right? And they suffered this terrible, horrible attack from Gaza. The October 2023 terrorist attack, when, I don't know, hundreds, maybe thousands of Israelis were killed. And then they launched this retaliation on Hamas in Gaza. And the people of Gaza support Hamas. So it is what it is. So I'm not sure how many people have died in Gaza. Gaza has been turned into, I don't know, rubble. Maybe 50,000 plus people have died in Gaza. So some would say this is genocide. Others would say that this is retaliation from Israel and justifiable retaliation to look out for its national interest. So I would say, look, this is not my fight. I completely support Israel's right to self-defense. Okay. So it's complicated, I would say. It's definitely a defendant, but does its defense, what it did in its defense, does it constitute genocide? Not sure. But I think if you're defending yourself against a bunch of people who are determined to end you, to destroy you, to eradicate you from the river to the sea, I don't think it's genocide. Yeah. So, and Israel has done its best to give a two-state solution and all that, it tried its best. So overall, I would see Israel as a defendant in this matter. Not in the Iran-Israel thing, but in the Israel-Palestinian, Israel-Gaza thing. Israel is a defendant. That's how I see it. Rahul says, you look like Bomar Inari. I am not a Persian. I'm not Parsi. Come on, how can you say that? I'm deeply upset. It hurts my feelings. You calling me Persian? I'm not Persian. Okay, anyway. More seriously, what would be the probability estimate that if the US is drawn into Israel-Iran, China would use the distraction to take Taiwan? I think it is unlikely. Even if the US is drawn into the Israel-Iran conflict, the US has sufficient forces in the Indo-Pacific region, in the South China Sea region, to prevent China from taking Taiwan. Or if China does take Taiwan, it will inherit nothing. It will inherit ruins and ashes. So I think it's still too early for China to make a move on Taiwan, even if the US is drawn into Israel-Iran, because Iran is an important asset for China. If Iran falls, then China loses it's one of its major sources of cheap energy and so on. So it doesn't make sense for China to make a move on Taiwan at that point in time. So I think, from the way I see it, others may see it differently. The way I see it, if the US is drawn into the Iran-Israel thing, China most likely will not use the distraction to take Taiwan. I doubt it. Shivam Bakshi says, my previous comment about China was not pessimistic. We were a great civilization. I agree, we were a great civilization. I agree with you. But practically, we need to completely change. I once again agree with you. In the current state, we promote mediocrity, not excellence, like China. Again, I agree with you. I agree with you on all these points. We were a great civilization. We no longer are. That's a hard fact of life. We have to accept. We need to change completely. We need to reform the system completely, top to bottom. I agree with you. In the current state, we promote mediocrity. We seek out mediocrity and we promote it. And we seek out excellence and destroy it. I completely agree with you. So there are these tremendous problems that we face, but I'm still optimistic. I don't know. It's just hardwired into me genetically. I'm not capable of being pessimistic. So I agree with you. And I take your points completely 100% correct. I agree with you. But I still think we'll beat them. Nitin Jain, well, thank you very much, sir. Batman, sir. Thank you. Vedic Post says, my family tree has 160 names of generations starting from my grandfather in our village temple in Uttar Pradesh, Ishtadev. How many years of continuity would I have? How can I preserve its documentation? Well, that's fantastic. 160, the names of 160 generations, 160 generations of ancestors. Well, that's quite a lot, right? So the question you're asking is, how many years of continuity do you have? First of all, that's the first question. So we can calculate this in two different ways. The first calculation is that one generation represents 20 years. Okay, so if one generation represents 20 years, it means 10 generations is 200 years. 10 generations is 200 years. So 16 generations, 10 generations is 200 years. 100 generations is 2000 years. And 160, what's 160? 32, 3200 years. Yeah. So if we calculate one generation as representing 20 years, you have 3200 years of continuity. But if one generation is, instead of 20, it's 25, then let's calculate, right? So if one generation is 25 instead of 20, then 160 times 25 is 4000 years. So you have between 3200 to 4000 years of continuity that you're aware of. And that's amazing. It's fantastic, right? That needs to be treasured and preserved. So now the question is, how can you preserve this documentation? Well, it must be written down somewhere. What you can do is take pictures and upload to the cloud or wherever, and maybe print it out and keep multiple copies. That's one way of preserving its documentation. Secondly, you make your relatives aware of it, and you give each of your relatives a copy. So that way, at least some of the copies survive over the years. That sort of thing. So yeah, so that's one of the things you can do. Make multiple copies of the documentation, digital copies, physical copies, Xerox copies, printouts, whatever, and distribute among all your relatives and explain to them how incredibly valuable this is. Between 3,200 to 4,000 years of history you have recorded. That's amazing. Awesome. Spade says if you take away US support, Israel won't survive. It will be hard to see Israel survive if the US support disappears. So, yeah. I love India says today a big YouTuber, German model, tried to brainwash how India failed in geopolitics, and Manmohan Singh and Obama had good relations. And Jaishankar and Modi destroyed our foreign relations completely. Somebody said that there's a YouTuber with 29 million followers. Now, someone is saying that the YouTuber is German model. Are they the same person? When you put these two together, I seem to be getting a sense of who the person could be. And if that is the person I'm thinking about, then I'm not surprised at all. So what can I say? People have agendas. People have masters that they have to serve. And that's why they do these things. You see? When you have masters to serve, political masters or whoever, or geopolitical masters, then you will say these things. How have Jaishankar and Modi destroyed our foreign relations? You think Manmohan Singh was a leader to look up to? You think Obama was a leader to look up to, by the way? And so on. So listen, I have nothing to say about this. I have no interest in commenting about such people who make such claims. It's below my dignity, I would say. Rahul Vijanayak says, big fan, regular watcher, please keep it going. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. And for your support. Dheeraj says, I sir, I love you. Well, thank you so much. I love you back. Thank you so much. Samarth Acharya says, religion, is it still a factor between the West and the Middle East? Religion has never been a factor. Religion has been a tool that the West has used to divide and conquer and rule the Middle East. And when it comes to religion, look, from outside, for us, Islam is just one religion. But from inside, Islam has so many different sects and schisms and whatnot. And very different, multiple flavors, you could say, I don't know, it's the right way to say it or whatever. So religion has been used to control the region. But the real factor in the Middle East has historically been oil and fossil fuels, not religion. Akhil GK says, did Shinzo Abe support Christian missionaries? I am not aware of that. I'm not aware. Did he? Well, he was one of the rare Japanese nationalists, a good man. And I did not see him as being pro-Christian the way I saw him. But I don't know. I'm not aware of it as far as I know. VS says, did Nazi Germany have a military-industrial complex? What were the conglomerates or banks that were involved? They did have a military-industrial complex. I'm not sure about the banks. Maybe the Deutsche Bundesbank, if it did exist at the time. I'm not sure about the conglomerates, but I can tell you what were the companies. There was Henkel. Henkel, it produced aircraft. There was Stuka. There was Focke-Wulfe. There was Mercedes. And then there were various German state-owned agencies, the ones that developed cruise missiles and ballistic missiles, the first ever cruise missiles, the first ever ballistic missiles, and so on. And Messerschmitt was one, and so on. So yeah, they had a tremendous military-industrial complex. Tremendous. They had some of the brightest minds that ever existed. They pioneered so many technologies. The jet engine, the cruise missile, the ballistic missile, and so much more. The Germans. So yeah, they were tremendous. You have to admire what they did. You don't have to admire their ideology and other stuff, but the scientific excellence, the engineering excellence was incredible. And the Americans tapped into that, and so did the Russians. And that's how the American space program began. That's how the Russian space program began, and the Chinese space program, and everything else, and the jet engine programs, and so on. Samir Chavan says, after interacting with the Chinese in Singapore, I feel Chinese culture is very closer to us. Well, I agree. The Chinese prayer practices, etc. They're proud of their culture. But if we call them Chinese, they hate it. Do you think the same is the case with us outside of India? So, first of all, Chinese culture is very close to our culture. If you meet Chinese people, especially not younger people from the recent generations, but slightly older people, they are very much like us. When you meet a Chinese person, you don't really feel a cultural difference or a cultural shock. When you meet a person from the West, from Western Europe, etc., from the US, they are culturally significantly different from Indians. If you're not used to it, you'll feel a cultural shock. But the moment you sit down with a Chinese person and talk, you will feel there's no cultural difference between us. The Chinese are very close to us culturally. And that's why India and China should be friends, but we are not. It's really sad. We are culturally very similar. We are overall, philosophically, mentally, etc., from the perspective of culture, tradition, etc., we are very similar, India and China. Practices, China has historically been, for the past 2000 years, a polytheistic kind of culture and so on. And the Chinese are proud of the culture, but I'm not sure if we call them Chinese, they hate it. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe in Singapore, they don't want to be called Chinese. I don't know what it is. Is the same the case with us outside of India? I'm not sure Indians will hate it if you call them Indians outside of India. I'm not sure that's the case. Singapore may be a different case study, but overall, I don't think Indians who are second generation immigrants, third generation immigrants, I'm not sure if they hate it if they're called Indians. I've not seen that personally. Thakur says the oldest R1a skeleton, PES-001, is from Russia. The top three oldest R1a remains are from Russia, Western Europe. Indian team confirms Rakhigarhi's autosomal DNA had no R1a supporting mainstream. Are we concluding something, sir? Like I said, this is a work in progress. See, in India, in Bharatvarsh, in India, we have a hot, humid climate, not considering northern India. So the region where you have the so-called Indus Valley culture, Harappan culture, civilization, that period of our history, that is a pretty rainy place, hot, humid place, right? Western India, present-day Gujarat, Rajasthan, Haryana, Punjab, and Sindh, and so on, all of those regions, pretty heavy rainfall, pretty warm climate. Human remains don't last in such climate. So that's why you will never find an Indian skeleton of an Indian person that is 12,000, 50,000 years old. They will all disintegrate in that time. So even if we have had R1a from 20,000 years ago, you won't find it because that will have disintegrated by now. Unless you go to places like Ladakh, etc., where you have found signs of human habitation going back 13, 14,000 years. But we haven't found skeletons from that place because obviously people would not want to live there. It's a very, very harsh climate and so on. So I think it's too early to conclude anything. What we need to do is we need to have a 10,000 genome project in India. Take at least 10,000 samples of current DNA from all across India, from all population groups, and do a deep study. And from that, we will find out where the origin of R1a was. How do we find out the origin of R1a if we don't have ancient samples? How do we determine where R1a originated from if we don't have ancient samples? How do we do that? Well, there are ways of doing it. It's a very clear rule in genetics. What's the rule? The place where you have the highest diversity within a haplogroup is the most likely to be the origin of that haplogroup. So R1a is a clade. It's a haplogroup, right? But it has many sub-haplogroups. It has many daughter haplogroups. R1a1a, R1a1b, R1 whatever, etc., and so forth, right? So it is very, I mean, I've heard from reliable sources because I know some people. India has the highest diversity within R1a compared to anywhere in the world. But that needs to be published. Once it is published, we can make it official. So all of these stories are fine and so on and so forth. But the main question about the Aryan invasion migration theory is not about genetics at all. Like I keep on saying, it's not about genetics. The central claims are that Hinduism is foreign to India and Sanskrit is foreign to India. And they have no way of proving it. That's why they're going in the genetics route and other routes. But yeah, whatever. Zishan says, how can Indians even dream of becoming a superpower if they can't agree on what language to speak or what form of government they should have? And I agree. And that's why I keep on saying that India is nowhere going close to being a superpower. India is nowhere close to being a superpower. India is not even a proper regional power right now, right? And you are absolutely right. We are too divided, all of us. We are divided by 1,000 factors. We are divided by linguistic factors, religious factors, regional factors, so-called caste factors, and God knows what other factors they find to fight among each other and divide further. That's what Indians do. We Indians excel at arguing with each other all day, all night. We're the most argumentative people in the world. We think our arguments will change the world, and so on. We can't agree on anything. So, what India needs to change is a superhuman leader. We've had superhuman leaders in the past, taller than anything we've experienced recently. Only a leader with tremendous fortitude can take the nation by the scruff of its neck, force it to unite, impose one thing on the nation which is beneficial for the nation, and take it forward. And then India will not be a nation, it will be a civilization, proper civilizational entity. That's what needs to happen. The current shape and form of things is all about mediocrity. Have 50 different languages and fight about languages. In your curriculum, you have to learn 3 languages. And the form of government is the worst possible form of government, and so on and so forth. So you are right, Zishan. In the current shape and form, we cannot dream of becoming a superpower. We have all the potential. But the way things are right now, we are not going to be a superpower. But if things change somehow or the other, who knows what could happen. Salvatore's brother. Damon is here. Okay. So Damon says, please suggest A to Z World War II campaign best source. World War II campaign. You mean reading material or documentaries? I can't remember. When I was a kid, like 7, 8 years old, 9 years old, when I was abroad, I grew up in Europe for a while. I was fascinated with documentaries about the Second World War, black and white documentaries and all. But I don't remember what those documentaries were called. So I don't remember. When it comes to books, Anthony Beevor, I think, is a good source. It's very hard for me to remember the names of books because I've read so many. And The War That Ended Peace is probably about the First World War. Anthony Beevor wrote about the Second World War, possibly, if I'm not sure. The Guns of August is about the First World War. So I'll tell you how to find the best sources. Go to your favorite online portal website where you can order books, whether it's Amazon or Flipkart or whatever the hell else, and search for Second World War, search for books, and find the books that have the highest ratings and more than 100 reviews, at least 4.5. And then if it has at least 100 reviews and a 4.5 plus rating, it's guaranteed to be a good book. So you can do that. All right, Damon. Sai Kumar says, how can we relate Iran-Israel war to heartland theory? Okay, map. Have we opened the map today? Well, we shall see the map now. Heartland theory, rimland theory. So Mackinder's theory of the world island says that the world has a rimland and a heartland. The heartland is the heartland of Eurasia, which is China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Central Asia, all of that, Ukraine. And the door to the heartland is in Ukraine for the West. Ukraine is the gateway to the heartland. And then there are the rimland nations like India and Iran and the Arab nations and all, which according to Mackinder will remain in the periphery of the world. So if you want to control the world island, you have to control the heartland, which is Russia and China and the Central Asia. And to control the heartland, you need a gateway to the heartland, which is either Ukraine or one of the rimland nations. So Iran could be a rimland nation that could be one of the gateways to the heartland, and Ukraine is another one. So if the West wins Ukraine and Iran, then there you have it. They are on their way to conquering the heartland and ruling the world forever. So that's how Iran-Israel war relates to the heartland theory. Sanket says, Gen Z role in building our nation in the upcoming years. Look, in a few years, people like me will be gone. And people like Gen Z will be in our place. And so eventually you will have a Gen Z prime minister or king of the country or queen of the country, right? So eventually Gen Z is going to be in the driver's seat. And when Gen Z is done, the next one, whatever it is, what is it called? Beta. Whichever generation it is, beta, they'll be the next ones. So, yeah, everybody plays their role. We are links in a chain. The chain goes back thousands of years, and we are a continuation of that. Okay. Okay, I'm going to take another 10-15 minutes and then we'll be done. Okay. Okay. The question is what this video, our history tells us that we were very technologically advanced. Brahmastra means nukes. Okay, if you say so. Mentioned in our Vedas. Where did all the tech go without a single archaeological trace? Was it taken from us by a super race? Maybe we were so technologically advanced that we realized how dangerous these frightening weapons are. And then we said that, during the Kali Yuga era, nobody should have access to these weapons because otherwise they'll be used for very bad purposes. And that's why our ancestors, who were supremely super advanced, they used their advanced technology to eradicate all traces of this technology, and they hid it away. Maybe it'll be revealed only when the cycle changes again and Satyuga returns. I mean, that's what I can say. I don't know. Possibly, right? Without evidence, you can make such claims because we don't have any evidence. So maybe that's the case, perhaps. Nikhil Srivastav says, is there a risk of India becoming a vassal of China? The risk is very low. I don't see India becoming a vassal of China. How would that happen? That would happen only if there's only in what are the scenarios in which this happens? One is China defeats India militarily, which is highly unlikely. It would incur tremendous risks if it wants to have a prolonged military confrontation with India. So China, if it is a sane nation, will not fight any kind of military conflict with India because the risks are too high for both nations, right? So that way, it can't make India a vassal. Secondly, the other way it could make India a vassal is if there's a government change or regime change in India and a pro-China kind of government comes to power. Well, do you see that happening anytime soon? So I think overall, if you look at these scenarios, the risk of India becoming a vassal of China is pretty low, close to zero as of now. Kapai developer, thank you, sir, says, why do global economic models rely on endless growth and expansion? What a good question. Often with government-aided rule bending by monopolies to quash competition. How did this happen and what's the way forward? That's a great question. The global economic model, the capitalist model, now I am now criticizing capitalism. Please don't take it to mean that I am in love with communism. Communism is even worse. Okay, first of all, communism is far worse. Capitalism has its merits. But one of the things about capitalism is its endless quest for quarter upon quarter profits, an infinite cycle of quarter upon quarter profits on a finite planet. How do these profits happen? By plundering the earth for resources. At the end of the day, it's all that. Whether it's semiconductors, whether it's electronic vehicles, whether it is AI, which needs power, which needs either fossil fuels or something else. At the end of the day, whatever we are doing to generate the profits, we are plundering the earth for resources. It's a finite planet, but we want infinite quarter upon quarter profits. We're going to end up destroying the planet. Endless growth, you can't have endless growth. You're going to end up eating the planet alive, and then there'll be nothing to do. Right? It's a disaster. It's a disastrous model. It'll end up destroying the planet. And when the planet is done, we'll move on to the moon and to Mars and destroy that too. It's not a good model, right? So how did this happen is the question. How did the world come up with this model? Well, it's an Abrahamic model. I think if you read some of the Abrahamic holy texts, they will say that the world is a resource for you humans to exploit, right? God gave you the land to exploit. God gave you fish to fish and fowl to eat, and I don't know, something like that. I have not read. I actually read it once, a long time ago. I was once stuck in a hotel in a city in Europe when I was about 8 years old. I was stuck in a hotel. I was under instructions not to watch TV because TV is bad for children's brains. So I was a reader. So I ended up reading a book in a hotel room. So that's the day I read the book of the Abrahamic people. One of the Western-oriented book, right? I finished the book in one day. It was a pocket version. So I kind of read it when I was about 8 years old. I don't remember much. Anyhow, so according to the Abrahamic culture, the world is a resource for humans to enjoy. No, which humans? The humans who believe in the Abrahamic God, the chosen ones. So that gives rise to these models of endless growth and exploitation and plundering of the Earth's resources on a finite planet. Big problem. Okay, Bageshwar Army says, in one episode you said you could read the Persian script. How did you learn it? And do you have any recent Persian ancestry in living memory? I'm sure I must have said something to the effect, but I did not say I could read the Persian script. I said I learned to read the Arabic script, read and write the Arabic script. The question is, how did I learn it? It was probably in the year 2001 or something, probably in 2001. I was ill for a while, and I was bedridden at home for a few days, and I was really bored. So I had this big fat dictionary. It's called the American Heritage Dictionary. So I opened it, and it had a section on alphabets, and there was this section on the entire Arabic alphabet. I said, okay, let me try and trace that. Out of curiosity and boredom, I learned the Arabic alphabet in one afternoon, and then I started using it to write my name and all that. I could write it very crudely, but I could. And the Persian script, today's Persian script is a derivative of the Arabic script. They have some words, some pronunciations in Persian that the Arabs don't have. For example, the j pronunciation isn't there in Arabic; it's in Persian. So they use the triple dots for that, and so on. And they have pa, which the Arabs don't have, right? Parsi instead of the Arabs say Farsi, and so on. So that's how I learned it. Anybody can learn it in a couple of hours if you have the inclination to do that. So that's how I learned the Arabic script, which also is the basis for the Persian script, today's Persian script. Do I have any recent Persian ancestry in living memory? Not that I know of. As far as I know, the lineages that I am aware of that go back about 1500, 1600 years, I don't see any Persian ancestry in that. But of course, it's not one line of lineage that we have. We have hundreds of lines of lineage. So who knows? So my ancestry is from Western India, Gujarat. And Persia is essentially a neighboring state. If you cross Sindh and Balochistan, you're in Persia. Persia is kind of a neighboring region for us. So it's possible there could have been interconnections, genetic and other interconnections are possible. Who knows? But not that I'm aware of. Lokraj, sir, thank you so much. Thank you. Ankita says, how would you analyze the Iran-Israel war in terms of their own national interest, existential rights, and sovereignty? Their national interests are very divergent. Persia sees itself as an ancient civilization, and today it's Iran, not Persia, and it's the Islamic Republic, not the Persian civilizational entity. But Iran sees itself as the continuation of an ancient imperial system, which they were, right? And therefore, they have bigger ambitions. They have lost territory, just like we lost territory. Our people still yearn for the lost territories, right? Akhand Bharat. Well, there used to be Akhand Persia also. They have also lost many territories, and they would like to reunite that. So they have these ambitions of reviving the old empire to some extent, and maybe expanding territory, which frightens some other nations. And Iran would love to have nuclear weapons and to be a great country again. They used to be in the past. They used to fight the Romans and the Greeks and everybody. Never fought us because we were their people, but they fought everybody to the west. And today to the west we have Israel. So Israel is this new nation, 1948 onwards, and they have always been under siege. They have siege mentality, and they are the best friend of the US, the unconditional ally of the US. The US is their unconditional ally, and very powerful. They have nuclear weapons, and they probably see themselves, the Israelis, as that they should be the dominant power in the region, the regional hegemon. And Iran is a problem for them because Iran also has similar ambitions. So that's why one of the two has to go, apparently. So that's how it is, and both see each other as an existential threat. Iran sees the Iranian regime of the Ayatollahs. They see Israel as a neo-colonial project and an illegitimate nation, and a nation that doesn't deserve to exist, which obviously Israel doesn't agree with, and they see that as an existential threat for them, and that's why the two nations are antagonists, right? That's how it is. So that's their national interest. That's their That's their priorities. That is how they see, uh, their threat perception, and so on and so forth. That's how I would analyze it. Okay, a few more questions. John says, how do we discover our own rare earths? I think India has about 10 to 15 or 20% of the world's rare earth reserves known to exist. But so we know that it exists. Okay. But we haven't ever bothered to develop the mining and extraction process and purification process. The Chinese have done that. We have not done it. It will take us at least a decade to do that. So that's the thing. We have rare earths, at least 10%, if not more, of the world's rare earths. That's a sizable amount. That's definitely enough for our own requirements, that we don't have to depend on anybody else. We may even end up being an exporter, but we are not doing a thing about it. Rishikesh says, when is the next Understanding America? It's kind of delayed. I mean, there are 2 more episodes that have been recorded. They need some editing to be done and all that. And I need to find a slot in which to release them. So coming up soon, reasonably soon. I know it's delayed and I apologize for that. It'll come soon. And I appreciate your asking this question. I'm glad that some people are interested in this. Yeah. Avnish says, off topic, no one talks about the bad mess food in this country. Even top engineering colleges fail to provide decent meals to students. This could have something to do with corruption, perhaps. I don't know. It's terrible. I also have been a student in a hostel long back. The food was, well, it was okay. It was edible, usually, to some extent. I probably did not have that bad of mess food. I know people who have had terrible mess food. So yeah, it's sad that it's the case. I mean, you're paying so much money to your engineering college, but they will provide you with the sort of slop, which I don't understand why. Dheeraj Kamath says, Chinese-Indian rivalry engineered by the West. Not quite. Not quite. It started with the Chinese takeover of Tibet. That had nothing to do with the West. It had everything to do with us acting like a weak nation, our leadership behaving like that. And obviously, if you leave a power vacuum in a big region, somebody will fill it, rush in to fill it. So Mao Zedong took over Tibet, and Mr. Nehru supplied rice to his soldiers to do that. And then after taking Tibet, they took Aksai Chin. That they are claiming Arunachal Pradesh, and they are refusing to demarcate the border. This is entirely the doing of the Chinese Communist Party. It has nothing to do with the West. All right. Vidhi said, advice on dealing with parentification. Common problem. What is parentification? You mean becoming a new parent, is it? I'm not sure what parentification means. Dealing with parentification. Does it mean becoming a new parent, or does it mean dealing with your parents? I'm not quite sure. I'm sorry. Vinay Joshi says, channel stuck at 950 shadow ban. What's the plan? The plan, you go on. Don't worry about what you can't control. Why worry about something that's beyond your control? Be happy, live your life, do what you want to do, and let it be. Dr. Ritvik Patnaik says, Turkey supported Pakistan, not India. It's pure religion. Well, from Turkey's perspective, they have their own agenda, they have their own perspective, they have their own religion, and so on. Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of it has to do with religion, for sure. A lot of it. Okay, Samir Chauhan says, bookshelf tour. Also, did you get a chance to explore AI Kosh? I haven't done that yet. AI Kosh, I haven't seen that yet. Does it help normal public or only for big companies? I'll have to see that. I still haven't done it. I apologize. I said I would do it, but I still haven't found the time to do that. I'm sorry. Bookshelf tour, I think I'll have to do it on a live stream only. Because, yeah, maybe I should do a live stream of a bookshelf tour. Take the camera, take it, and do a bookshelf tour. I'll have to get it to focus properly. Maybe I should do a live stream. Or maybe I should put up photographs, pictures of the books or something. Okay. Vamshi says, look for skeletons in Kashmir area to find oldest humans. Possibly. Kashmir is a cooler place compared to other parts of India. Kashmir is reasonably cool. It has snow also at times. So maybe you could find more ancient human remains there of our ancestors, which would be interesting from a genetic and archaeological perspective. So yeah, definitely. So we have some very interesting archaeological sites in Kashmir. Burzahom is an example. There is also the discovery that happened a few years or decades ago of a sky chart in which there are two suns in the sky. and it turns out to be the oldest ever depiction of a supernova. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting history in Kashmir, and I'm sure if you look for it properly, you may find ancient human remains, which would throw a lot of new light on our deep history. Praveen Alur, thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Ankita says, apologies for the spelling mistake. My keyboard is hypersensitive today. Some issues with my email also. No, no issues at all. And no issues. Why do you to apologize? It's all right. And thank you. Thank you so much. Rams says, what's your thought on Star Missile DRDO? I haven't heard of the Star Missile. What is the Star Missile? Let me look at it. I'm curious. What's a Star Missile DRDO? Let's see. Star Missile DRDO. What is that? Star Missile enters final testing stage in India's DRDO. Star Missile to simulate supersonic threats across, etc., etc. DRDO continues advances Star Missile development. What is this stuff? Bolstering supersonic. It's a target missile. It's a high-speed target to trade air defense unit. Okay, yeah, good job, good job. It's good progress. So when you're training your air defense systems, you need targets, right? So you need target missiles. So it's a target missile for that. Good. I'm glad we have it. Supersonic target missile. Okay. Naman Singh says, follow up from yesterday's question of indigenous technology ecosystem. Do you think Indians and government are the main reasons why we haven't made it? They want to use foreign products, not have guts like China, Russia. I don't think that's the reason. If you look at the government of India, well, when it comes to the recent, for example, here's the example, Operation Sindoor. We used so much indigenous technology, which turned out to be better than something you would actually import. We use a lot of our indigenous systems. So I think the government is definitely, especially the current government, the Modi government, they want to prioritize indigenization of everything, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So that's not the case. I think the government of India says that this stuff should be done by the private sector, perhaps. I don't know. I'm not sure quite why it's the case. And when it comes to the people of India, sure, the people of India do have this thing in their mind that foreign technology is better than Indian technology. So that could be one of the reasons. But I think one of the reasons is that the private sector is risk averse, and they don't want to reinvent the wheel. It's already there in the West. Why do we need to reinvent, do it all over again, that sort of thing? So I think it will take some initiative from the government of India for this to happen, perhaps. Yeah. Jai Rebel Star says, is Bitcoin really independent? I'm not sure 100% of whether it's really independent. I really haven't dipped into this technology. I don't have any Bitcoin investments or whatever. So I'm not sure what the deal is. But there's always a question mark of all these things, I would say. So I'm not sure. I personally am not sure. Om says 25 years old, doomed careers because of 3 years gap. What 3 years gap? You're 25 years old, your career is already doomed. You're just starting off. At the age of 25, you're starting off in life. Why is your career doomed? You have a 3 year gap in something? It doesn't mean your career is doomed. Don't see it that way. Maybe a 3 year gap of whatever it is may make things difficult for you, but you don't give up, you fight. People have surmounted much bigger problems. Don't think of it as a doomed career. So without knowing what the gap is, I don't really know what to say, but I would say be positive. Don't see it as a doomed career. Fight. As long as you are alive, you're going to fight and you're going to strive to achieve whatever your dreams and aspirations are. All right, sir, all the best. Naman Singh says, even my new page, which was growing at rocket speed, was banned by Instagram. Same shadow ban on you. That's why dependency is not good on US apps. Dependency on other apps is never good. I'm not sure if there's a shadow ban on me, but whatever. But your new page was banned by Instagram. Well, that's terrible, unfortunate, right? So when you are dependent on foreign platforms, you are at their mercy, which is why it would be great if India develops its own platform. So I completely agree with you, sir. Vidhi is now clarifying, parents want kids to fulfill their dreams and roles. Look, Vidhi, I'll tell you this. We have to respect our parents. Our parents grew up in a different time and space, essentially, in a different era. Even 20-30 years makes a big difference. And they will see the world in a certain way. Most people are unable to adapt their understanding of the world as the times change, as the years pass. They most people are stuck in a different time zone, in a different era, and they look at the world from that perspective. It's not their fault, right? So if they want kids to do certain things, maybe it's because they love them, or maybe it's because in some cases parents have some dreams of their own and they expect their kids to fulfill those dreams or something. Well, that's unfortunate. So my point is this: look, you have to cherish and love and respect your parents, no question about it, no question about it. But don't be afraid to disappoint your parents if need be. Don't disrespect your parents. Do love your parents, do cherish your parents, but also remember, you are not necessarily responsible for carrying out their orders for the rest of your life. Each human being was born to fulfill a certain purpose in life. You are not born with the objective of making somebody happy. You have to make yourself happy, right? So, if your aspirations and objectives are different from those of your parents, you have to tell them nicely, respectfully, and make them understand. If they don't understand, well, too bad, right? But you have to follow your dreams, your own dreams and aspirations. Otherwise, what happens is that at a later stage in your life, at some stage in your life, your parents will no longer be with you, but you will be stuck because of your decision to follow their whatever they wanted, and then you will have this bitterness for the rest of your life. You should not be there. So don't do something that is contrary to your interests and aspirations. Okay, Thakur says the R1a diversity you said is because of India's last problem. Though Indians are nearly twice as many as Europeans, some Asian groups have. Okay, sir. All right. Okay. Yes, sir. You must be right. You must be right. Okay. I am not going to argue with you. Okay. So with that, we are at the end of today's session. It's almost 1 hour 20 minutes, and yeah. So I'm going to end it over here. Thank you so much, everybody, for all your questions. I hope that this provided some value to all of you. Right? You hopefully learned a few things, and I will see you tomorrow in the big Ask Abhijit session, the regularly scheduled weekend session, which could be about 3 hours long. So I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. Until then, as always, keep asking questions, keep learning, keep striving, keep raising your standards. Never settle for mediocrity. Always settle for excellence. Always strive for excellence. All right. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.